Welcome to episode 014 for Rawness of Reality. I'm your host, Kevin Stalker, and in this episode you have the opportunity to meet Sniperstreets, aka Streets. In this episode you'll hear him talk about his zine that just came out on June 19th, how he goes about street photography, and what it's like to really strive to have an open dialogue with people who don't really always want to have that dialogue. But enough from me. Here's Streets.
A lot of my photography has me like out on the street, just going out into the world and like photographing kind of whatever I run into. It's kind of like ironic, so I'm just kind of like stuck with the last name.
Yeah.
And when I was in college, a lot of people called me Streets, and I'd never gone by like it as like kind of like a nickname. And I just kind of like started digging it, like, okay, like people like this.
That's pretty
like
cool.
Too.
I do like how so your last name is Streets.
Right, yeah.
And you really incorporated that into your whole shtick.
It just kind of like, it worked, you know, like I don't like push it or like try and do anything super extra with it. It's just like, it works.
Yeah,
you know?
It's funny because my last name is actually Stalker.
Right.
And I don't push it, and apparently to everyone else it works. Like, they all call me Stalker.
Yeah.
And if you don't know me, you're like, why are they calling
like a
this?
funny joke in high school? People...
Oh my god. Dude, growing up was hilarious for everyone else. They thought it was the best thing ever. Like, the last name Stalker. People loved it. I didn't mind after a while.
There was one kid, I was probably like middle school. No, it was like elementary school. He thought it was funny to call me Sidewalk because my last name was Streets.
That's hilarious.
And it was whatever. I was like, okay,
it's probably not funny at all.
Yeah, it was like, it was the first time, it was the only time anyone's ever like tried that. But I don't know. It was okay.
That's like
whatever,
that's some
man.
Nathan For You humor. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's like, or some Eric Andre. Have you heard of the Eric Andre show? It's like that kind of humor where it's like, come on, man.
Yeah. That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
That's funny. So Streets. And so you go by Streets. You are Sniperstreets on Instagram.
Yeah, that was like the handle, basically. You know, when it came time to like make a name to put on the internet, that's kind of what I went with.
Are you like American Sniper with a camera? But you never missed a shot.
Not an asshole, but basically,
Okay. That's cool. Could you tell our listeners about what kind of photography you shoot and what to expect from your new zine?
So, I'm basically like a photojournalist or a documentary photographer. I mean, what interests me is every day, you know, getting up, just putting the camera around my neck, whether I'm going to work or going, you know, to the store, whatever I'm doing, just having the camera with me and just being ready for whenever I see something that interests me, whether it be a person or something physical that somebody did or some architecture. It could be anything. So it's kind of, you know, just, you know, stepping outside my door every day and just like taking on whatever the world brings my way or whatever I walk into. You know, it's not necessarily about like going out to make photographs. It's about going out and being ready to make a photograph.
So you immerse yourself in the culture around you?
Completely. Just kind of being like, not necessarily the fly on the wall, but, you know, just...
chameleon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just even thing, the world's fascinating, man. People are fascinating. Even if I don't necessarily agree, or even if I feel uncomfortable in the situation, like the moment I'm working with my camera, like, you know, zen.
Really?
Just in the zone, in my zone. Yeah, it's just a happy place, and it brings me mad joy. Like when I know I got a good photograph, when I'm able to like interact with somebody. It's very challenging too to go out and suddenly, you know, either ask for a photograph or just suddenly be in somebody's space and, you know, follow that gut instinct, you know, boom, get the photo. Because you got like maybe a second or two, just depending on the situation. It's definitely, and like the slang term for it is street photography. And it's definitely, to me, I believe it's the hardest form of photography to do well, and maybe at the same time also the most rewarding. It's definitely the most fun because you just never know what's going to happen. And it continually challenges me and opens up my eyes to, you know, new things.
Where's the first location you started picking up street photography?
So like, I guess like a little background. Like I grew up around cameras.
What age?
Oh goodness, I mean like from the moment I was a little kid, like my parents were like, back then in the 90s, you had like little point and shoot 35 millimeter cameras, which I actually still love to shoot on, just because of the ease and workability. And then that transition to like digital cameras and then phones, so it was just something I always had. I didn't seriously consider or think of like, oh, I'm gonna do photography until I dropped out of college the first time, and I had just taken like a basic intro to digital photography because when I'm like going into that second semester and I'm like, okay, like here's the class I need, let's do everything else easy, so I like boost my GPA up a little bit, and I saw photography, I'm like, oh, I've been doing that for years, like that'll be no problem, so I kind of like, my parents graciously bought me a DSLR, and then I just hung on to it, and I kept shooting here and there. And I was a football player in college and high school.
Wide receiver, right?
Wide receiver, yeah. I mean, that was without football, I wouldn't have gone to college. I wouldn't be who I am in a lot of ways today. And so I had this feeling that football was kind of slipping away, and I just had absolutely no idea what I really wanted to do with life. But I knew I wanted to do something I enjoyed, and then just from there, kind of figure out like, okay, how do we make a living from this? So year of 2015, I'm just left school. I'm back home. I'm living with my parents in my parents' house in Alabama. I'm working at an Aldi's, and just on my free time, I grab my camera and drive, the 25 miles to downtown Birmingham and just walk around and take pictures. And so I basically just kind of learned that way. And then of course, like looking at what people were sharing on Instagram and, down the road starting to like pick up on photographers from before Instagram, and that was when I think I really started to learn and figure out kind of like an avenue and just start to develop some real intention behind the lens. Because I think intention, especially in this day and age when there's just like massive content pushed out every day, is like mad important. Like why, what, who are you doing it for? And then how does that relate? I took some photos last summer. I was waiting for the bus, and there were these kids playing on a trash can. It was like 3 kids and a mom. And I just instantly saw myself because like my mom dragged me and my 5 siblings around. We were kids everywhere. So it's like there was an emotional relation there. If that's the best way to put it.
No, you actually told me about that the first time we met.
Yeah, like whenever I can, sometimes, I see something and it's just like, boom, shoot that. And other times, like, I relate to it, empathetically, or maybe I'm curious about what's happening. And anyway, so, like they like caught me taking the picture of them playing on the trash can, and so then like they wanted to see the camera, so I let them see the camera, and they started taking pictures of each other.
That's
and whatnot.
awesome.
And it was, I mean, anytime I get to do that with anybody,
Well, kids especially, you got to think about the experience that's going through their mind. Maybe that's the first time they've really touched a nice camera.
And it's funny is the kids, they always are like, the kids will always be like, where's the picture, because they're used to the digital world. Film is like a 35 millimeter, they don't even know what that is.
Yeah, they're used to it instantly being
And then
there.
the older generation, I was in Walmart last summer. I was shooting a Nikon F3 at the time, so it's, hanging around my neck, and I run into a guy. He recognizes the camera, and we talked for like 30 minutes in the middle of the aisle, and he ended up giving me a really nice enlarger for free.
Oh, wow. That's
kind of like another example. It's like, because I'm shooting film, when somebody recognizes somebody, older than me recognizes that, they're instantly like excited to see somebody young still using like an older medium. And I think, I don't know if I want to give the credit to Instagram necessarily, but like film has come back in a way. It's very interesting how it's come back. Things that would have been so frowned on aesthetically years ago are now like popular now, like light leaks and dust or scratches on your film. Blemishes basically are like pop culture within like, I don't know if I want to call it pop culture. They're pop culture for kids shooting film. I'll put it like that. That's
Well,
what I
do
can
you
put it.
think because film is tangible, something we can hold on to, that it's becoming more popular because we're seeing our society go to phones and technology so much that everything's not, you can't really like hold on to these
Right,
photos.
it's not. You know that I remember when Instagram first came out, and we had these little film filters. Like all those filters are built around film. And like high level photographers, like I get it, they laugh. They're like, I can do that with any camera I pick up. I think over time, like we started to figure out, like, oh, that's from film. Oh, I can go to CVS and buy some film. I can get on eBay and buy a cheap SLR for a few bucks.
Yeah.
And now I can send my film off to be developed. I think people just kind of started to figure it out, and they're like, oh, this is fun, So then they start doing it.
That's awesome. And have you met a lot of people doing it now?
Yeah, I have. I see, especially if I'm like around a lot of the colleges, maybe like Point Park or just in Market Square, like I see, of course everybody's carrying a digital camera. But yeah, here and there, scattered throughout, you see somebody carrying an old SLR.
That's cool. Yeah.
So it's always fun. Those are the people I like to go up and like, hey, what film you shooting? Like, how long you been working with it or whatnot? Just like.
I think it's really cool how you will just go out on the street and take a picture of anyone.
Yeah.
Like I think that's awesome. And I had a conversation with you about it, and then the reason why is because I was sitting somewhere. It was in Market Square. This will give you guys a little background on how we met. So it was in Market Square, and I was sitting down writing some notes, and directly behind me there was another guy, and I think he was also writing something down. But
was he sitting on the ground?
He was sitting on the ground, yeah.
Up against the light pole. Yeah.
And apparently it looked really symmetrical. Is that right?
It wasn't even that. I just saw two people who had one was sitting on the ground, one was sitting in the chair, and y'all were both doing the same thing. So it was really a kind of a juxtaposition of like two people doing kind of like the same physical task, but like in kind of a very different situation relative to like how they were using the space. Sometimes it's not even about the person; it's about how the person's using the space, or what they've done with it.
Yeah, I thought it was really funny how I was writing something, and then I looked to my right, and I just see you with this camera. Like, I'm thinking to myself, is this guy taking a picture of me? Yeah. And then I think I asked, are you a photographer? Yeah, and then we had like a 30-40 minute conversation.
At least 40.
Yeah, and it was really cool, and that's how we met. So I just think that's awesome how you have the balls to literally take a picture of anyone. Like that takes a lot of confidence.
And that's what I mean by like it's challenging to enter people's space. There's moments, I'm ashamed to say it, where like I ducked out of the picture, and but that also pushes me to do better. And that's again why intention is so important, because when I first was taking images, it was on a digital camera, so it's easy to be shutter happy, and I just like shoot anything, not really knowing why.
Yeah, just getting content.
Right. Yeah, just figuring it out. Yeah. So it's not that like if somebody gets mad at you, you're going to be able to explain your way out of it, but at least knowing why. That's big for me. It's not like, oh yeah, I just wanted to just blow you up with a camera. No, like your hair is dope, your pants, I love your outfit, the way you were sitting, your demeanor, the look on your face. It could be anything, or
intention is crucial,
or you're sitting on the ground. And recently I've actually been pushing myself to walk up and make contact first in some situations where I just want to get like a portrait. And I don't know why that's more challenging for me than just like popping into somebody's face and getting the camera. I think because what I've realized is I've been slowly starting to get some of my film back, because I'm just like, I'm always shooting more than I'm developing.
Well, that's the fun part, right?
Yeah. And it's also just like, when I get tired of shooting Pittsburgh, I'll get tired of it. I'm not like trying to like, I'm not rushing the process.
What's your favorite part of Pittsburgh to go out and shoot?
Anywhere where there's a crowd.
Okay. So Three Rivers Arts Fest is
Yeah, I was there.
10 days.
I was there. The opening weekend.
Okay. What do you think of the Three Rivers Arts Fest and how?
So I didn't get to go last year
okay.
since I've only lived up here for almost a year and a half now. So it was a lot of fun. I mean, we went down to have a picnic. So like we're walking down, like I'm taking pictures. We sit down to eat, and like I remember this little kid came up and like had a soccer ball. I just like reached for my camera and was like, just anywhere I'm at.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to be in like, I'm shooting pictures. Just whenever the picture's there, if I can get it.
It's good to have it on you. Yeah.
Right.
You said it always.
I mean, all you got to do
yeah.
is put a camera around your neck, and,
And then the rest is up to you.
I learned that from Ricky Powell. He said, and if that's too much, then.
Ricky Powell, I'm not familiar.
He's
with him.
Man, a legend, New York street photographer from back in the day.
Ricky Powell.
Yeah.
I like
there's a documentary that really there were certain moments that like really like I remember the first time I saw Bruce Gilden's work and I was like, wow, I'm doing street photography wrong. Like this is how I've always wanted to do it. Like I like to look at pictures where I feel like I'm right there. That's why I talk about like getting in somebody's space. Like I'm not there with like a 50 or an 85. Like I'm shooting my 28 prime and I'm there. And Everybody's Street was one of those moments too. When I watched that documentary, and I've watched it more times than I can count. I still go back and watch it because I'm always trying to glean or learn something from somebody wherever they're at. If they've got something I can
glean?
learn. Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that word either.
It's like I don't know, it's like a fancy word for like what, pick up. Maybe I didn't even use it right.
Okay. We'll get our fact.
I want to know, but I want to. So I do this all the time. I'll just look up the definition of a word.
I ask Siri a lot. Siri's really.
Do you ever like you hear a word used somewhere and then you try to use it in a sentence, and you keep using it and then you realize, yeah, here we go. So glean is like extract information from various sources. So like I might type in so like Bruce Gilden interview on YouTube and just like watch through all his interviews or like find written articles. Everybody's Street's one of my favorite docs. I always go back to it because there's a lot of different photographers in there, and it's them on the street, it's them in interviews, and I'm constantly picking up something new from them, and then I can take that and put it into what I do in my own way.
So glean's a verb then. It's the action. So
yeah.
then I gleaned to prepare for this discussion. So then I have a question about something that I found, some of your work, and I was wondering if you could talk about it. So mass reality.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand, but I did like, I liked like what was going on, but I didn't really understand what I was watching. And I was wondering if you could help. Or maybe that's the...
No, that's so on point, because everybody says that. And I get it, because... So how mass reality started, like...
Here, let's give the listeners a little background on what mass reality is. So mass reality is under his YouTube channel, Sniperstreets, or no, it's
probably
it's _space_streets.
Probably.
Yeah, that's your YouTube channel, and underneath that you have a video called Mass Reality, and it's about 25 minutes long of various video and pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a mass of realities, real things that happen.
Okay.
When I went to learn Adobe Premiere, which is a video editing software, I was like, well, I have to have content. I have to have some audio to work with just to figure this thing out. And for the past 2 years, I had just been randomly shooting video, randomly collecting audio in that same way where I'm on the street and just like, it's like, boom, take that. I didn't know why I was taking the video. I didn't know why I was taking the audio. I just knew I had to capture it. And that's the same way it is with my photographs a lot. So now I finally like, oh, cool, I'm going to get to do something with this. Like, I always knew this day would come. Yeah. So, like, I started toying around with it, and then I put it off. Like, with my projects, when it's on my own time, it could sit on the shelf for 6 months, and then I come back around to it. Just because it's like I hit a wall, and it's like, okay, well, like, either, if I don't figure this out, it's like I don't have the energy anymore. That I'm not gonna like stick with something if I'm not having fun with it. I think a lot of times when people put something on a strict timetable, like now your intention is like, oh, I got to meet this deadline, and not just make it the best you can.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, like I can watch Mass Reality now and see things I could have done better, but it was about like getting it to a moment where it was like, okay, I'm ready to put this out. And it wasn't even gonna be public because since there's like a lot of my homies in there, I just sent it to them like, hey, like I made this in the process of teaching myself Adobe Premiere. What do y'all think? And they're all like, what the heck is this? But this is dope. And I'm like, yeah, it's basically like a short film, a short documentary, and I somewhat formed a narrative of it, but it's basically just a mass of realities, a mass of moments all put together.
Yeah, that's what I was capturing from.
Yeah, with a little bit of me sprinkled in there and I did the photographs the way I did. I'm trying to remember the music video Kendrick Lamar did. It was one of the To Pimp a Butterfly music videos, and he had type in there, but it flashed up on the screen so fast you didn't know if you saw it. And so I just pulled that idea because I didn't want the doc to be necessarily about the photos. Now, when it did come to like being in Washington D.C. for the inauguration, I did want people to see those photos because I thought it worked so well with the Trump audio in the background. But everything else, it was just fun to like flash up like, oh, did I see that? Nah, I'm gonna keep watching. And then some people are like, oh no, I gotta go back. It's like it's kind of like a little gem for whoever wanted to like mess around with it. So everybody loved it, and I was like, all right, cool. I'll put it out there. I'll let people see it. It's the only public video I've
I couldn't find anything else.
So
And then so that was the only public video you've done, but now is it June 19th or June 16th?
June 19th.
June 19th, you will be releasing your first zine.
Yeah.
And a zine, for those of you who don't know, it is a short form magazine that is created by an individual like himself or a group of people. And a zine, it's a really cool, neat idea. Could you talk about what we can expect to be in your zine?
So this zine, it covers basically 4 individual peaceful protests from Antoine Rose.
Okay.
Again, I was just there for the first 3 because I knew I had to be there. And then by the time the very last, I don't want to give away too much, but the last protest, at that point I knew when I was photographing it, like a zine will come out of this eventually. I have there's a lot of other project zines in the works down the road. I wanted to go with this one. It just kind of worked out because of the timing. Wednesday will be the 1-year anniversary since his death. That's when the pre-order will be live, and all the money is going to his mother, Michelle Kenny. If anyone's gonna make money off of these photographs I've done, if anyone's gonna be capitalist, it should absolutely be the family.
I completely agree, and that's powerful that you're doing that.
But I really hope that it's really embraced and a lot of people buy it and share it.
How many copies are you making?
I'm not sure. That's why we're doing a pre-order.
Okay.
I'm on a shoestring budget, so I'm trying to be like fiscally.
Are you crowdfunding?
Safe. Not at the moment.
No.
Yeah. That looks so like is the business side of all this is like I'm a photographer. That's my weak spot. But I've had a lot of other people around me help me, and it wouldn't be happening without them.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Absolutely, it's so vital.
Yeah, it is.
When I'm trying to do things that I'm not good at, like I just get frustrated and
We'll see your years of playing sports actually comes into play when like you were a receiver, so you're a team player. You run an individual route, but the quarterback has to throw you the ball. You know what I mean?
Or I have to run a route to, pull this safety down.
Or you got to hit the block.
Over
exactly.
Here, throw a block. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully not. I'm kind of small. I usually lose. I would usually lose.
Well, I'm sure you enjoyed the crackback blocks.
Yeah. I'd go for your legs.
Yeah. But the point I'm making is that you understand when to ask somebody for help, and I think football teaches that. It teaches
Absolutely.
Camaraderie and to know that you're not alone. So that's cool that you continue to not rely on other people, but
Role
you continue.
Is vital.
You continue to literally speak up for when you need a hand. So that's good.
The zines are fun because it's allowing me to work out this process. Down the road, I want to put out books. I have books in the work.
That's awesome.
And so I look at the zine, like being a big hip hop fan, it's kind of like the mixtape, figuring it out. I'm putting this is the first physical product I've ever put out. It's not digital, it's not virtual.
How many pages?
It's going to be like 75.
75. That's more than a zine. That's a magazine.
It is big.
Isn't that a magazine?
Basically, if we're doing it by pages.
If you're doing it by definition.
Yeah.
That's a magazine.
Yeah. So it's funny, like when I wasn't even aware of like what a zine was until like maybe 6 months ago.
I wasn't until I met you.
Really?
Yeah. That was the first time.
It was totally brand new, and so when I saw this, I was just
super
like,
hipster. Like, yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh snap, I can do this. Like it's because I had been thinking like, yo, I really want to find a way to like, because I tried doing prints, like going to art stuff and like selling prints and whatnot, and I was like, okay, this is something like where I can really take my photographs and get into design and narrative and some of these places I wanted to be in.
And so do you describe the surroundings and the photographs? Or
You mean like words?
Yeah, are there brief descriptions anywhere? No words?
No brief descriptions in this one. Okay. There is some type.
Okay.
But yet no descriptions.
What material?
What do you mean as far as the paper type?
Yeah.
Semi-gloss.
Semi-gloss.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I say that it's to be completely truthful. Like we're like backs against the wall to get this thing like available for the pre-order Wednesday. But it is gonna happen. It is gonna happen.
What are you estimating the cost per person?
Right now, I don't want it to be above 25.
Okay.
To be truthful, I want it to be lower than that.
Well, 75 pages is a lot of work. So
it is.
You have to understand, like, I think they'll respect that amount of work. So around like 18 to 25 seems like a pretty
and I mean the fact that we have to give it to a printer, it's fine. Next zine, the third one, definitely by the third, printing will be in house. Okay. So I've cut down that cost again. Like I said, we're sending it out to, like, I got an invoice back yesterday and I'm like, oh, like too much. Other printers, I'm truthfully expecting it. I mean, it could be, my hope is that it's lower than 20. I believe I can have it lower than 20 because, I want it to be like something, especially when they look at the price, like, oh yeah, no problem.
See, coming from your shoes too, being a creative, and it's like this is your own baby, right?
Yeah.
And you're also, so you have this work that you've compiled, and you've created a zine, and you want it to be like a good price for people to respect it and buy it. But then again, you have that other side where all the profit proceeds go to Antoine Rose's mother. So then again, it's like, it's not necessarily a bad thing if it is over 20.
Right.
Because the family of Antoine Rose, the second, is receiving something. Right. And they're actually...
So like another way I look at it, there's been... A couple months ago, there were 2 zines I wanted to get at the time. They were both $25. And I was just too broke to like I could have bought 25, got the zine, but it's like, that's $25 spent the wrong way. Because I got bills to pay. So I kind of look at it a little bit from my perspective as well, and just understanding that, he also, Antoine, grew up in a poor community. So if like you only have a few bucks, like you're good. You can still get that. Yeah. And provided like it does well. I mean, obviously I would love for his mother to gather in a lot of money off of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna be grateful like for whatever amount.
Yeah. Well, that's not even your entire focus with it, though.
No, no, not at all. Because
there's a message behind it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm just excited that like I'm finally able to like put something physical out to the world.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited too. Like I'm really looking forward to it. If you guys haven't seen his work, check out your Instagram. What's the handle?
At Sniperstreets.
At Sniperstreets.
It's basically like, it's funny because you're like I guess my YouTube is Streets or Sniperstreets.
Yeah,
I'm not even on there enough to know. I just tell people like if you Google Sniperstreets, you'll pull up my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be a Tumblr, website, Instagram, whatever is under that.
Yeah. Could you talk about to fellow creatives? So I noticed your layout on Instagram has kind of changed a little lately, where you put the white panels.
Right.
You put 3 white panels,
mm-hmm.
and then you put 3 picture panels, and then you put another set of 3 white panels,
mm-hmm.
and then it's another set of 3 white panels. So as you scroll, you see that it goes in this order. But when you put those white panels, other people who see your post are only receiving a white panel picture. Mm-hmm. And that's 3 in a row. Mm-hmm. And I could see some people being agitated about something like that. Mm-hmm. But coming from a creative like yourself, what are your thoughts on it? And does it I think it looks aesthetically pleasing when I go to your page. Mm-hmm. So how does it make you feel? And what do you think
it's like far as the page, like it's definitely like for the aesthetics. It's more to show you like to like break up the work, mm-hmm. so that the work's not all running together, and you can see that this set of 12 images was a whole project, and this set of 3 was a whole.
Okay, that's really cool. I like that.
Basically, because like at one point last summer. And I got this from what I saw Childish Gambino do this first on Instagram, and then I saw Kanye do it for Valentine's Day. And he was new to Instagram at the time, which is unique. His feed was blank. He shared 50 images of basically like celebrity couples. Mm-hmm. The 51st was him and Kim, and that was like it was there for a couple days, and he deleted it. I was like, wow, like that is beautiful. In a place where it's like. I feel like the internet just has so much stuff on it, and it's always there. Like, he put something there briefly. It was like a virtual gallery that you could come to, mm-hmm. and then it's gone. The same way, like, okay, here's a gallery in a museum for the week, and then it's gone. It was like this momentary thing. So I actually did that when I first shared the photos I crafted from the Antoine Rose protest. They were up on my Instagram for a while, and then they were gone. I thought I was going to do the same moving forward. I didn't because I realized, like it's important to have what I've done on there recently. And so that's why I started just doing like the 3 blank posts. And at first it was totally blank. Like I wouldn't even put anything down there. I mean, even with my photos, like I'll put information, maybe like the date, the event. I don't caption it or anything because it's like the photo should speak for itself. Mm-hmm. If it's a good photo, I don't need to like add my words to it at all. But recently with the blank post, I've started like writing something in there.
I think it's so cool. Yeah,
because people would actually like the blank post, and that amused me so much. I was like, that's funny and like really dope at the same time. Like some of it would just be my homies, and like they get in the comments and like talk trash or whatever. I'm like, this is great. But I was like, well, like just be a little more interactive. Like say something, even if it's like. I ate a bagel this morning. Yeah. Like just interact a little bit, because I know for me personally, I can be like. Super reclusive, and I don't care at all. I don't care how it comes off. That's my space. That's like a comfort zone. Like I'm in my house for a week working on stuff, or I'm out and about.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm like open up a little bit.
Yeah. I was reading them and some of them were just like catching me off guard. I was like, oh, okay. But one of the most recent ones were like, I finally did it.
Yeah.
We're coming to print soon. I was like, oh, he's talking about the zine.
Yeah.
Like so I thought that was cool.
And it'll be really obscure like that. I enjoy being obscure.
As do I.
It's fun to tease like that.
Yeah.
And just like, what? What's he doing? What's he doing?
What did he print?
Yeah, and like even in the process of making the zine, a lot of my process is just super organic. I get into it and I'm working on titling last night, and I'm working. I'm like, this isn't working, So you just figure out another way, like, kind of going in with a plan and then just totally deviating from that and doing something totally different. I think it's easier for me to create, like, when I'm in the space and I'm working. If I have to, like, plan it out and be like, okay, this is what we're gonna go with. Like, sometimes it's just hard to even come up with the idea. Like, I have to be active.
So, is there any advice that you'd give to a person who just picked up their first camera within the past year, and they're looking to be a photographer, but they don't know where to take it or what to do?
Yeah. I would get on YouTube. I would Google how to shoot in manual, and I would start there. And I would learn that, and then I would go outside my house or in my house or whatever. I would just have my camera with me, and I would just start taking pictures. I mean, the same way I did it. Just start taking pictures, figuring it out, messing around with your settings, There's always at least 2 ways to do the same picture once you understand manual.
Could you elaborate on what that means? I'm gonna
do my best.
A photographer, so.
Like if I took your portrait right now, I could do it. I could change. So you have your ISO or your ASA, which basically is telling your light meter or telling your camera the sensitivity of your film or whatever. If that makes sense. You have your aperture, which is basically like a hole in your lens, and that hole can widen or tighten. So it's controlling how much light is coming in. And then you have your shutter speed on the back. So you have this little shutter that's going to, pop up and allow that light to come in and hit your digital sensor or your film, whatever medium you're working with, your old glass plates. If you're doing it like the old-timey guys, 4x5s, like in the cartoons where they go under the... Yeah. So basically, because I'm going to try and give, like, a better example, but, like, I would mess that up too much. If you change just one of those things, just by changing, if you set it up one way, you could change one of those things and then adjust the other 2 settings to do the same picture. You would get a different, I think that's correct, you would get a different effect aesthetically because you're crafting the photo different technically. But I mean, you still be like, subject matter wise, it's the same photo.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. So, say it one more time. There's
3. So ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. Those are the 3.
Okay.
I guess the 3 technical pieces as far as your camera is concerned that you should be concerned about to understand first. And then of course you're going to go out into the world and you're going to start thinking about light and where is light coming from, and the light's bouncing off of this building and hitting down here, and am I shooting into the light? Am I shooting against the light with the light to my back? All sorts of stuff.
What's your ideal setting for a photo?
As far as, okay, let's see.
Or would you not want an ideal setting since you kind of just go out there?
Yeah, see, I'm more of like, I just go out there and I just take
so
what comes to me. I do like a lot of sunlight.
Okay.
I like to work. I like work.
Not the place.
Yeah, I guess so.
We only have 190 sunny days a year.
Yeah, few and far between. Which is funny because when I lived in Alabama, I wasn't shooting a lot of film at the time. I came to this place where I was like, I knew film was the direction I wanted to go in, and I knew that, okay, kind of what I've done digitally, like, that's great, but I'm going to have to kind of take a step back and really put in a lot of work and not really have anything to show for it for a while I, figure this thing out. Which is another reason why this zine is so exciting. I've recently been striving to get better at as well, is just like, because you can listen with a stubborn ear. Okay, I listen to you. All right, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. That's well, you're just hearing me at that point. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're not
or hearing to correct.
Yeah.
Or hearing to, and just, also like, putting little things into perspective, like, okay, I'm sick today. Well, I have this bill to pay, but my health's more important. So, all right, hey, I gotta call off today.
Yeah.
I've found it's, there's certain things in my life I was just far too emotionally attached to in some form or fashion because I wasn't looking at it with a proper or healthy perspective.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
It was like lower or higher than where it should have been. I guess is the best way to put it.
Would you say you're getting that?
Yeah, I'm striving to find just that balance, balance in everything.
That's cool.
And like our bodies, man, like we're messed up. We're all just messed up. So for me, it's a spiritual place. Being at peace with your spirit.
Yeah.
That's where it starts, because like, you know, like you see the clothes, you see me, but like me is what's speaking out to you from this body. This is just the shell I'm living in, you know?
Yeah.
So also kind of looking at myself like that, like, okay, well, like, you know, maybe you didn't like, you know, what t-shirt you wore today, but it's all good. Like, that's just the t-shirt you wore over what you live inside. You know?
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to have a healthy perspective if you don't have truth too. You know.
No, that's powerful. I think you're right about that, because it is hard to have any perspective if you can't be honest and truthful with, one, yourself, and then two, those around you. But one, you have to be truthful to who you are and what your intent is.
Right.
And the way you carry yourself, the actions that follow, and the choices you make, and that all comes full circle to create you. So. And
man, especially just, it's kind of, I think, like constant reevaluation. And understanding that you have to fail to win. You know, like you have to lose to gain a lot. You know, you have to mess up maybe to figure out, okay, well, this is how I do it.
I'm
next
so
time.
Great at failing. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
I'm a great failure. Yeah.
That's good.
Oh, I've strived to do well and never fail, but I've realized that while doing that, I've failed so much. But learning from that failure has created this mindset, and that is what keeps pushing me.
Healthy perspective.
Yeah.
Not like, down in the dumps. No, like, no, you have an opportunity now.
Opportunity, yeah. I tore my ACL once. I got surgery.
You told me about this.
Yeah. And then I tore my other ACL. I didn't get surgery. I felt depressed for a while, and it was eating me up, and it's still torn to this day. But I realized I took it as a lesson, as an opportunity to do something different, so I couldn't just get that depression a hold of me and keep injuring myself doing, like, I mean, I was running, but it was just like
the mind is so powerful.
It was insane when it happened, but I realized that it was a lesson for me, and there's some growth to be learned here. So
that's how I'm striving to be. I would hope that's how we're all striving to be.
Each and every day.
Because like, you know, and I think you know, again, that's some things I picked up from football. You know, you get knocked down a lot in football, so you have to learn how to pick yourself back up, and then just, you know, taking kind of like that same aspect or same approach in life. You know, it's not about what happened to you; it's about how you respond to what happened to you. You have a choice, you know, in a situation like, okay, this happened to me, but how am I going to respond to this?
Yeah.
You know,
what are the next steps?
Right.
Yeah,
because that what determines what gets you where you are is your response to everything that comes your way. And oftentimes that can be unfair or cruel. I mean, you think about a kid, you know, and maybe in a bad situation, it's not like they're logically you know, this thing's is just coming at them regardless, you know. So you get down the road, you know, maybe no one ever brings, you know, shares with them like, yo, you know, it'll be painful, but you can actually unearth and get rid of a lot of these burdens just by going back and saying, like, you know, okay, this is what happened, this is what was done to me, and this is how I responded to it, but what is the appropriate response that I should have had? And oh, you know what, it's not my fault either. Let's put the blame appropriately. Let's put the blame where it should be. And okay, now I'm going to have this new response because now I have truth. in this area.
That's powerful.
That's another thing that I recently, just throughout my day, just stopping like, okay, why are we feeling like this? Like, okay, and just working through it and like, okay, like this is what happened. And I mean, it'd be stuff from years ago, bro. Mm-hmm. I mean, we carry this body, we carry everything. Yeah. And these memories and emotions, they're just in there tumbling, like a dryer. You see the clothes, they're just there. You're not even conscious of it until somebody or something in life like shakes it. All of a sudden, like it comes out, like, oh, snap. Where did that come from?
Yeah, no, that.
But we're so
extremely accurate.
We got to go to job. And we got so much stuff going on in this society. So much we got to do. It's like people don't even have time to even think about the fact. Oh, I need to deal with myself because I got to survive every day. Yeah.
It's tough, but like you said, it's a balance.
Yeah.
And
it's 100% worth striving for.
Oh yeah. Definitely is. You need inner peace. You do.
Yes.
How can those around you have peace if you yourself don't have inner peace?
Right.
It's not. Feed, yeah, exactly. Like we feed off each other's energy. So, this is now burst time.
Burst time.
And this is the first time for burst time.
Okay.
Let's get it.
Oh, yes.
This is Starburst.
Let's go.
I hope I don't get sued. So burst time means we're going to eat some Starburst. I'm going to ask Streets here some quick questions. They could be quick or
I'm normally a long-winded person.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
I'm horrible at short answers.
So yeah, we're just going to crack these open. I got all pink.
It's like watermelon, I think. I love all the Starbursts.
I'm not sure. Take as many as you want.
Okay.
I'll put them here. So yeah, Starburst, please don't sue me.
Starburst sponsor, my man. Yeah. Putting y'all on right
now. So burst time. Here's how it's gonna work. I'm just gonna ask you some random questions. Obscure things sometimes come to my head. Sometimes they don't. And they're very basic. I'm gonna start with, what's your favorite Starburst?
The one you just handed me. Not those, not these. This one.
That's a good one. You should keep the wrapper then.
I wish I had a little pocket.
Oh. Oh, these are so good.
When I was working at Moe's.
This is gonna be good. Been thinking about this all day. New smothered burrito, y'all. I want this. Welcome to Moe's!
My boy, Tavon. Shout out Tavon. That man would always bring in candy, which I loved, because, like, you need a little candy during your workday. You know what's even funnier? Another story. My first year playing football, 8th grade, one of our senior wide receivers, another guy who just loved candy. On Thursdays before a game, we'd have like a light practice. Just like helmets, shoulder pads. This man would be out there with gobstoppers and all candies in his pocket, eating candy in practice. Oh. I just go like, what's up, Chris? And just like stick that hand in there, grab some candy, like he already knew what was good.
That's cool. That's really cool. I like that. All right, so most inspiring photographer.
Oh, man.
Is it criminal to bite a Starburst and not eat the whole thing at once?
To some people,
I feel like
and those people are weirdos, because like you should be able to eat and enjoy this beautiful piece of candy however you desire.
Okay, I bit it then.
I've never seen anybody bite it though.
That's why I wanted to do it.
But hey, I really got to think about this, because there's been so many moments where and the inspiration is always different. Sometimes it's not necessarily their photography. It's like how well, like Joe Myritt's classic example of somebody who's not necessarily his work I admire, but how well spoken he is. Because I don't necessarily consider myself a person who's well spoken. I'm like abrupt and blunt, and often will communicate something poorly, and that's I think I'm gonna have to go with Bruce Gilden though, because that's the guy that keeps popping in my head, just because when I first saw his work, it impacted me so profoundly.
Bruce Gilden.
Bruce Gilden. Yeah.
All right. If you could write a check of any amount of money and give it to a charity, would you write the check?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you could go to any water park, what would it be and why?
The beach. Because the beach is... That's a terrible answer to that question.
No, I go from Florida, so
I go with my
I
gut
appreciate the
because
beach.
I grew up going to the beach every summer, and we would we'd pass by the water parks, but we always went to the beach. I don't know why we didn't go to the water parks. I guess like my parents just weren't about like paying for 6 kids and themselves to go to a water park.
That's quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah.
That is.
But having gone to a water park or 2 now, it still doesn't beat the beach. The big, as my guy Rizzo in Muppets Treasure Island says, the big blue wet thing. Nothing beats that.
Okay.
So I'm gonna stick with the beach.
The beach. All right. And anything you want to tell the listeners that's coming up? Even if we've talked about it, something they should look
obviously.
out for?
Please support the zine. Antoine's mom. The pre-order will be live this Wednesday, 6/19.
Where do they get it?
So it's funny, like I have a big cartel up now.
Cartel?
Cartel. Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do it through. Because I have a poor habit of like...
What is that? Sorry, I'm not familiar.
Big Cartel is like, it's an online shop, basically.
Okay. Are you going to link that to your Instagram? That might help.
It will be linked to my Instagram.
Okay. How about your website?
Linked to my website.
Okay.
Yeah, at Sniperstreets, Sniperstreets.com.
And that's on your Instagram URL bio spot.
Yeah. That would probably be the best place to go.
Yeah, that's probably
next time I do a podcast, like all this stuff will be done. Like, I'm gonna be way ahead of the process. I'm not gonna be such a noob. But
well, the thing is, so
Say His Name, by the way, is the title of the zine.
Okay, I'll say his name.
That was a sign that was present throughout the protests, and a chant that was present throughout the entire part of the protest.
So
And the zine is very much a documentary of the people, the environment, the events, the moments that took place, and I think one of my most joyous things about it is just how, and I want to be careful how I say this, because a photograph can be honest and still misconstrued or misinterpreted.
Hello?
And sometimes, like, I'll even look at a photograph and, like, I kind of have an idea of what's going on, but it's still very relative. And what I like so much about this project is just, like, if 50 years from now or 100 years from now someone picked this up, like, there would be, 70-something, beautiful photographs of this event that took place. And, I want to know more about this. And they get on whatever, some futuristic internet,
Yeah, no.
They go back in a hologram or something. And they're like, right there with it, wherever we're going to be in 100 years.
Be nuts.
It's scary.
Yeah.
I hope I've passed peacefully by then. To be honest with you, I'm not sure. The future is gonna be nuts.
The chant. They said "Say His Name."
Say His Name.
Yeah, and I have a sound clipping. Do you know Jo Bucek?
I do not.
He's a lead singer of the Uptown Woods, but this is his own solo project. I'm just gonna play this.
Yeah.
Real fast.
Hello? What's your opinion, sir?
We all fucked. I ain't got shit. I'm sweating and it's August. If you like me, you probably work for ends meet. I don't need much. I'm leaving in the coffin. Call my name when you need to hear the real shit. Catch me dead before you catch me in an office. I can't trust cops. I'd rather be a culprit. Read my rights and then lock me in the handcuffs. Send me off. We're all lost in America. Mass hysteria. Mass media, master shaping, mass appeal, peels away our character. Mass control, mass produce. The news ruining mothers, mascara. Mass shootings, mass incarceration. There's no use praying. The mass is missing mass. The pastor masturbating. Massacres from LA to Massachusetts. I guess nothing matters. We all puppets doing master's bidding. But don't be dipping in their pockets. Question the boss's mindset and find yourself jobless. All of this attributed to selective hearing. Several years of corporate culture. Vulture eyes, sadistic thinking. Quickly sickening, sickly seeing people as just statistics. Just a number, numb the consciousness. Ignorance a tip of the iceberg. And that's where the problem began. I said it before and I'll say it again. Unless you a congressman, we all fucked. I ain't got shit, I'm sweating and it's obvious. If you like me, you probably work for me. I don't need much, I'm leaving in a coffin. Call my name when you need to hear the real shit. Catch me dead before you catch me in an office. I can't trust cops, I'd rather be a culprit. Read my rights and then lock me in the handcuffs. Send me off, we're all lost in America. It doesn't get stereo, instilling fear from feeling inferior. Police employing serial killers, it's a serious business. Terrorizing their victims, leaving kids without a father. I hope it haunts you, I hope you see his face forever engraved in your memory. I hope your soul never rest in peace. Temperature rising got me sweating in a cold world. This a matter of survival deep inside a nightmare. Life lost, no love felt, no question of suspects. Roswell, free to roam, bail unsecured, on house arrest, but he ain't home, he ain't alone. There's a load of officers better off in a morgue. Instead, they acquitted in court. The system corrupt. Crooks and thugs posed to serve and protect. They provoke and destruct. There's no justice, no peace.
Busy main thoroughfare here in
That takes me really back, man.
Yeah.
I remember when I first started listening to a lot of hip hop, and it still kind of blows my mind today that, like, even if your ideas are outdated or just wrong or different, however you want to put it, like, when someone puts it that eloquently, that straight, you know, from the cut, and, like, you cannot empathize with that, you know, that's why this keeps happening. There's a, and it's funny you brought the audio up, the material we're going to tease out on social media for this pre-order, it's photo with audio. And it's just like that. And there's a photograph. It's my favorite photograph in the book, or the zine. It was in Market Square. You know, the funny thing about Pittsburgh being a small, dense city, bigger than what I'm used to, but yet still small and dense, which I love, you see a lot of the same faces. So this is the first time I had seen this couple. Seen them multiple times since. There's a couple sitting at the table there. You know, those little colored tables. Man's on his phone. The lady has her hands over her ears like this. Eyes closed. Behind her is a protester, her fist raised. You can see the protesters around in the back. You can see a sign for Antoine's name on it. And I mean, I took several photos of this because when I saw what was happening, like, I realized the power of that frame, the story that was there. And then there's kind of like just coming into the frame on each side, like, you know, somebody's arm or whatever. I mean, just form-wise, the photo is excellent. I think it's an excellent photo. It's my favorite in the book because it perfectly illustrates where I believe we're at today, in a small sense, with, I guess you would say, race relations. I'm sorry. I'm always so careful when I talk about these things because I'm not the best. Don't feel like the best well spoken. But basically, this lady's not listening. She refuses to listen.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter what you can't even listen. No one's forcing you, but you can't. You refuse to listen. You know.
That's insane. I can even visualize what that looks like, and that kind of speaks to what our.
I'm gonna show you the photo now.
Yeah, that speaks to our society right now.
And and you know we can share information so quickly. You know, we're the most connected we've ever been.
But we have to be open to receiving it.
Absolutely. You know.
Would you like any Starbucks? Well,
probably the donuts early this morning too. Here it is.
Wow. That's insane.
You know, that's yeah. I don't even. That's no words. That's it.
It's an extremely powerful photo. A second later, you wouldn't have gotten it. Because that guy was about to walk in front of the frame, it looks like.
Yeah, I think, you know, as far as him and the lady there, they kind of worked. They just added kind of like balance and almost a natural physical vignette.
It kind of shows the circle around.
Right.
Because if he's here, then this wraps, and you're a part of that. But for her not to even...
Okay, you disagree, but
open.
You can't listen. You can't be open to hear another...
And this is a sign of disrespect.
Right.
I can't even hear myself right when I'm saying...
Right.
Like,
it was the physical act.
It's such a sign of disrespect. And it's like, your cause means nothing to me. I don't even have an ounce of respect for you to listen.
And that, to me, that is a perfect example of what white privilege is. It is the environment where there are things that we, as white people, do not have to deal with.
Yes.
Even if we have to deal with it a little bit, we do not have to deal with it on the level that poor classes or black culture has to deal with it. Police brutality is absolutely one of those things. If that was in a white neighborhood and the kid ran out of the car in fear, there's no way that kid would have gotten shot. I mean, that's my opinion. There's just no way.
There isn't. And if anything, he would have gotten tased.
Exactly. And there's some audio, a part of this material we're going to put out, where an activist speaks to that. The fact that the officer, Michael Rosfeld, did not follow appropriate police procedure. In fact, the activist even says he didn't follow his training. I would even argue a little bit that he didn't follow his training, but he's a victim too in the fact that, you know, as a white male, if he's growing up in the suburbs, he's watching his own television programming, he's got other people's information coming at him, you know, like, he was wrong, but it's like his mindset needs to change too. White babies are not coming into the world racist or hateful. No babies are.
No babies.
This stuff's taught. And that man acted out on some things that he learned that were not healthy.
Yeah, and then got away with it.
Yeah. The energy outside, because I got off work and I ran up to the courthouse that Saturday night as the trial was finishing, and the energy, you know, outside of that place, it was, you know, I've been in shock before, unfortunately, like a lot of us knew that was a good possibility based on how things have been handled in the past. Mm-hmm. But still to like be there
We're in Pittsburgh.
after all that effort and had been put forth, and hope for the right thing to come out, and for it to be handled like that was just
It's sad, but it speaks to the volume.
I'm at a loss
of what
for words.
It speaks to where our society is at.
Yeah.
And it shows we do need a shift.
If we can't empathize outside of our own fish bowls, man, dude,
it's
the world is bigger than like our own individual.
Well, that's why we need to keep talking and keep listening.
Exactly.
But
and I think, especially as us, it's very important that we, I'm talking about us as white men, listen.
Yeah.
Because I've seen people in the past, and it's like, oh, I can tell you meant good, but like you should have listened more before you acted out. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
That makes sense.
Because
act with intent.
Right. Because and your intention was good. You want to help, but it's like listen a little bit more, because there's just things and situations and experiences that we've been blessed to never have to deal with because we've been looked at differently. Mm-hmm. Straight up.
Yeah. It's completely true. It's
that sounds so basic, and it just blows my mind that there's still people who don't want to hear that, don't even want to try and understand that, and it's so
we need the basics.
So simple. We need
basics.
Like when I first heard that, it's like, oh, wow. I'm thinking back to it's 2014, and I'm in Kansas. I'm at school, and I'm watching on one of the BS news channels. We have many of them. The live coverage of the protests for I believe it was Eric Garner, and this is the first time as like 21, 22. So this is the first time like I'm learning this, but these kids had to grow up in that. Why am I just now learning that? I mean, that speaks to my education. Mm-hmm. What was placed in front of me, what wasn't placed in front of me, so that I would develop, but it from the jump, it just made sense to me. I'm like, this is wrong,
it's crucial to be educated. So we're not educated about the right things.
No, we're not. No, we're not. And so it continually I don't.
That's why we need to educate each other.
Just like just like this.
Well, that's a big part of rawness of reality, is there's things in our lives, not just us but everyone, that go unnoticed to the whole of society, but to us they're extremely impactful. And how we learn, how we grow, and what we see and what we do impact that thing in which creates us. So we need to have an open dialogue, and we need to be able to talk about the things we don't want to talk about, the things that make us uncomfortable to talk about, because then we'll start talking about them.
Right.
And we'll get somewhere. We'll move forward somewhere. And
nothing changes if nothing changes.
No, exactly. Completely. So what does rawness of reality mean to you?
Man, openness, just like it's all on the table, we're not holding back. I feel insecure about this. Well, let's just put it on the table then. Just have faith to open up. I did want to ask you one question, because I feel like, like the lady putting, doing that, like, that's not just an act, that's an attitude. And I know that when I come into certain circles, there's certain attitudes there. And how do we, and I'm just wondering if you've had experiences like, because if someone's unwilling to listen, like there's only so much you can do. Especially if somebody doesn't want to have a mature conversation. Yeah. And that's oftentimes, I think, the big kind of like building block, is somebody will like jump off to some other rabbit trail, and I'm like, whoa, like we're talking about apples, not oranges. They're both fruits, but we're talking about apples. Yeah. Just because you like apples has nothing to do with the you see what I'm saying? So like when you've been in these situations with very likely white peers and tried to check it, have you had success? Have you not had success? How do you even go about that? Because it's been frustrating on my end.
I have an answer, and it may be wrong.
Yeah.
I'm known to be wrong, but I'm also known to be right, so it's okay.
I like that.
Yeah. So let's say you and I are talking. We don't know each other. And I say something to you, and you can't agree. You don't want to hear it. I'm wrong. I then give you an opportunity to tell me why. I let you lay it out all on the table. I turn it around and I listen to you. I engage in what you have to say. I take an interest in your interest.
Right.
And then I create the common. There is now that common ground. You find the common ground by taking interest in others' interest. And if you take interest in their interests, then you will inevitably find a channel in which both of you are able to communicate. And in an environment where that woman was with her hands on her head is not going to be in the environment in which she has an opportunity to speak. So what then needs to happen is part of that crowd, once they leave, a person should go up to somebody who they see is agitated or rebuking whatever sound is around and let them talk. You need other people to speak, and you need to have us as the other individuals to listen in order for them to even want to listen to us. Sometimes it's about us being quiet, the one who has a message to say, to be quiet, to eat last.
I like that. That's on point. And that's so healthy for me to hear, because being a very outgoing and passionate person, I'm naturally a hothead. And that kills me in some of those situations sometimes, because I don't act from like a mature, patient place, empathetic place. I'm just like, well, how could you? Or, you know.
Yeah. You know. well, that's kind of.
And I think another thing is a lot of times it's a loved one I'm speaking with. So there's like that emotional factor. It's like, yo.
Yeah. You have to step outside of yourself a lot.
Yeah.
And I think the crucial thing is take interest in others' interest, because that will show somebody that they have your attention. And then if they have your attention, they will give you their attention.
I think that's an excellent pattern.
Yeah.
Right on.
That's all I have.
This has been great.
Today. Yeah,
thank you so much for having me on, man.
And we're gonna have you on again.
I've been really looking forward to it.
Yeah, no,
I've been keeping it in the back of my mind. I wanted to come. The first time we did it, and as a photographer, one of the few earthly labels I will allow my spirit in this flesh to be under. Have something to bring to the table.
Yeah, that's awesome that you do. The day we met, you were talking about a zine. June 19th, it's coming to fruition. So I'm excited about it. I really am, and I look forward to the work you'll be doing in the future. Do you have anything to say to our listeners before we?
No, that's it. Sniperstreets, say his name, June 19th. Thank you for the support. Please support. Like I said, all the proceeds are going to Antoine's mother. So snag it up. A week from now, I need to be scrambling because y'all bought me out, and I got to get more done. So that's the situation I want.
All right. We'll see you.
See you on the next episode when I have a discussion with Mad Rabbit. But for now, let's acknowledge Sniperstreets and go check out his zine. The link's in the bio. I enjoyed speaking with Streets, and I hope you all enjoyed listening. If so, please like, comment, subscribe, share. Tell us how we can improve. The only way I'm going to get better is with the help of you. So all the constructive criticism you can deliver, I can receive. Our episodes can only get better from here. And another big thank you to Mike Kampas, our production manager, and Joe Cal on the beats. And remember, stay raw with reality. Oh, yeah.